Welcome to Smalltalk Daily for Thursday, January 15th, 2009. Yesterday I covered a small build script for an alarm clock application I wrote that will play iTunes music, and today I wanted to go over a couple of other things. One thing that Runtime Packager does do for you is install a different emergency handler. As you know, in normal development mode with Smalltalk, the handler will pop up the little option to debug or correct the mistake. Now in a runtime you really don't want that, so you want a different handler. But yesterday's script I didn't use Runtime Packager, so the question arises, how would I replace the handler if I wasn't using Runtime Packager? Well, your first step is to write one. So you go in here and you subclass from error notifier, and then you have to implement, or if you want to do something different, you implement the notify method. This is what happens when an unhandled exception fires. You get this notify that goes through, pulls the emergency handler, whatever it is, and then runs that. In a development image, it'll be the debugger service. In a Runtime Packager image, it'll be the Runtime Packager's emergency handler. And here we just have one that does something fairly basic. It just dumps the errors and then ignores exceptions. Probably not the best thing in the world to do, but works well enough for this little application, and certainly works well enough as an example of the kind of thing you need to do. Now, how do you tune that in when you're going to run your script? Well, you have this script that I have here, and this is the thing that gets filed into visual.am. I take the script and I load my parcel, and then I turn this into a runtime by telling the system it's going to be a runtime image when it starts up, and then I tell notifier class that its current emergency handler is this alarm clock.emergency handler. I also handed a different log file name for errors and turn logging on to true. This is something that Runtime Packager also does. It drops error logs out. If you wanted to do something more interesting like email errors, you'd have to do a little more customization in that notify method and have it do something more interesting. And you'd also have to have more error checking, because who knows if you're connected to the internet, if you have a valid email server, all of that kind of stuff. But in any case, those are the really only modifications I've made to the script is right here. Tell the notifier to install a handler, give it a file name for the error log, and tell it to start logging errors when they happen. And that's pretty much it. So let's do this. We'll drop this out again, publish it as a parcel, tell it to overwrite yesterday's version. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do this /build alarm clock.sh, my script that does a file in of that configuration file. And you can see in the background that happened. I get that little error message from the VM. Now if I do a PS, you see I'm still running this because I have that delay that I mentioned yesterday so that you don't see the flashing of the launcher and the workspace. If I do it again, you see that it's not running now. So now let's go ahead and we'll do a start on the alarm clock.im. And there it is, just like yesterday. We're running our little alarm clock application. So that's about it for today. We now know how to build a simple build script. We know how to customize our build script to install an emergency handler and install a default logging file and have any exceptions that fire get logged out to it. So I intend to follow this up with some scripting to pull packages out of the image, the browser, the debugger, the inspector, all those things, again, without using Runtime Packager. But we'll leave it here for today. So until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.